Envoy on Transnational Crime, Philippine Center on Transnational Crime, Philippine Ports Authority, National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, Anti-Money Laundering Council, National Bureau of Investigation, the Philippine National Police, Philippine National Police, Maritime Group, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, and the Philippine Army as we signify our commitment to the Joint Declaration Against Wildlife Crime. Join us in our Declaration Against Wildlife Crime. The participants that I just mentioned of this commitment activity will put their handprints on the wall to my right as I read the Joint Declaration Against Wildlife Crime. And so we begin. Whereas the passage of the RA 9147, or the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act of 2001, provided the needed environmental policy to enable the government to manage, conserve, and preserve the country's wildlife resources more effectively. Whereas the concerted efforts of the different government agencies resulted to many successful interagency operations, leading to eventual apprehensions and successful prosecution of wildlife offenders. Whereas it has been observed that many apprehensions involved relatively large quantities of wildlife taken and traded illegally in an organized and syndicated manner. Whereas these syndicated and well-organized large-scale operations often involve wildlife illegally taken from another country or those unlawfully taken from the Philippines for trade to another country and now in the nature of transnational crime of trafficking in wildlife. Whereas the level of these large-scale, well-organized and transnational trafficking of wildlife is causing serious threats to the wildlife population both in the Philippines and in other parts of the world. Whereas the Philippines reaffirms its commitment in strengthening regional actions to intensify our enforcement efforts in fighting against these transnational organized crimes, to enhance related domestic legislations, to give deterrence effect to wildlife offenses, and to prevent the illicit financial flow associated with illegal wildlife trade. Whereas there is also a consensus among the Philippine law enforcement agencies on the need to define and penalize the crime of wildlife trafficking as a distinct and separate offense to enable the government to respond to the evolving sophisticated mode of committing wildlife crimes by syndicate and organized groups. Whereas the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001, as amended, now include violations of Section 27C, E, F, G, and I of Republic Act No. 9147, otherwise known as the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, and the list of predicate crimes for the offense of money laundering. Whereas, due to the serious transnational nature of illegal wildlife trade, there is a need to enhance the collaboration among the law enforcement agencies not only in the area of enforcement, but also in improving the area of policy advocacy and promoting public awareness. Wherefore, for and in consideration of the above premises, the undersigned representatives of the different government agencies hereby make the following declarations. That syndicated large-scale illegal wildlife trade is a serious transnational crime that requires close collaboration among law enforcement agencies to stop and deter illegal wildlife trade and related transnational crimes. That we welcome the inclusion of violations of Section 27C, E, F, G, and I of Republic Act No. 9147, otherwise known as the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, and the list of predicate crimes for the offense of money laundering. That we undertake to collaborate our efforts more closely to ensure that those responsible for large-scale and syndicated transnational illegal wildlife trade shall be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and shall be thoroughly investigated for possible violation of Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001. That we support the effort of DENR and the environmental law enforcement community and the authors of the amendatory bill in both House of Congress to amend the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act. And we respectfully request the Congress to pass the proposed amendment in the most expeditious way possible. We signify our full support for this declaration to stop illegal wildlife trade, to today, March 2, 2020, here in Quezon City, Philippines. May I call once again the